everybody, it's Neil again. Welcome back to another edition of No Secrets Base. It's been a little while, apologies for that. Lots of things going on, change of job and various other things. So, quick blast to Stevie Wonder to start you off, which might surprise some people, because it's not maybe where you would think my inclinations would lie, but there we go. Great music is great music. But I've been thinking recently about authenticity, sincerity, call it what you will, but people in the music trade tend to talk about authenticity. And there's a lovely quote, and I can't remember who it was, and I haven't looked it up, so apologies for that, but the quote is something to the effect of, sincerity is the key, if you can fake that you've got it made. And it seems to be more and more common in the music world that musicians are regarding their output as exactly that, as output, as a product, as something to buy and sell, to trade, to barter for other things, rather than a product of their hearts and minds, without being too wishy-washy about it. Hearts and minds and souls, and that's to me is what's most important about music. It's about communicating something from inside of you to your audience, and that's what makes musicians compelling. For example, Elvis Costello, Kirsty MacColl. I could mention many more, but the point is that you believe them, and there are lots of performers, musicians around who, frankly, I don't believe, and I don't think they're necessarily trying to communicate something to us. They may be just trying to sell something to us. And it's a necessary part of being a professional musician. You have to sell your product, but it seems to me that the more necessary part of being a professional musician and being a professional entertainer, communicator in any medium, is that you communicate something genuine, something from inside of you that you feel a compulsion to get across. Now, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a soft, lovely, wishy-washy, gooey love song, or whether it's something a bit nearer the bone, something about your life that you really want to get across, and that you feel compelled to communicate. Whether that's for your benefit or for your audience's benefit is a discussion that's a different discussion. It's just as valid for you to use as a musician, for you to use your music as therapy, as a way of rationalizing and focusing on what's happening in your life, as it is to communicate something important to them, as the protest singers of the 60s did, and politically aware musicians through the ages have done, about the greater ills of society and what needs to be done, and the fact that something needs to be done. So there's many different facets to being authentic, but the most important thing is that it's a genuine communication. It's not about selling the audience something, it's about communicating something, it's about giving something of yourself to your audience. and that to me is what makes musicians compelling. And it's not about the genre of the music. It's not about the style of the music. It's not about the technical accomplishment of the musicians, although that does play a part. It's about the feel. It's about the heart and soul that goes into these things. And to me, that is what makes a musician compelling. And one of the things that brought me to that sort of those thoughts was the world of YouTube, and the fact that there are several musicians. I'm not going to name any of them because I don't think it's fair, and I think a lot of them are wonderful musicians and have got a lot to say, but they've perhaps, some of us have become caught up in the monster that is YouTube, and a large part of their income maybe is coming from being a YouTuber rather than being a musician. And they start off talking about music on their YouTube channels, and more than one has ended up talking much more about creating content for their YouTube channel, which is about videos and editing videos and interviewing people and doing all of these things, which are very peripheral to their musicianship, which I think is a great shame, because I think a lot of these people, and I can think of a good half a dozen that I've followed a little bit, that are wonderful musicians and have got a lot to say and have got a lot to speak about and a lot to communicate to their audience, but they seem to be much more interested in communicating about how they make money from YouTube rather than about what it means to them to be a musician, to be communicating and to be an artist who has something to say to their audience. Their audience is now YouTube, and YouTube is quite voracious and demands regular feeding almost, which is something I've been very bad at, and that is probably going to change. This is a very new thing for me, and I'm still not entirely comfortable with how this interaction with the camera sort of works. But it's voracious, and if you want to make money from YouTube and you regard that as a significant part of your income stream, which I think a lot of musicians have had to in the last couple of years for obvious reasons, it demands a lot of you. It demands a lot of your time, and it demands a lot of things other than the thing that you started out doing, which is the music. And that's not necessarily helpful when now is the time maybe when we're starting to think about being out more, performing more, and maybe getting back to earning some of our income from performing. And meanwhile, YouTube is still demanding the regular updates and the regular videos and the regular live streams and all of that stuff, which is all well and good. And if that's what you want to do, great. I mean, it's not a problem. I just think it's an unfortunate business that musicians end up as YouTubers rather than being musicians who are using YouTube to get across some of their music, or a lot of their music even, and to build a live audience, because that's where I think that where the money will be in the future in music. It's certainly not in recorded music, and that practically is given away now. We have to accept that. But recorded music is basically a freebie. Lots of other businesses are making money from recorded music, but musicians themselves really are not. So we have to accept that the way we make money from our music is probably from performing live and people paying for tickets to get in to see the live experience. And this is where the authenticity comes in, is that it's much easier to give people that live experience when it comes from inside you and it comes from a place in you that is you, rather than as a product which you're trying to sell to somebody. I mean, we accept that we are trying to sell our live performances, but at the same time, if it's authentically you, it's much easier, in my opinion, to sell it to an audience and to convince an audience that this is the real deal, and they need to come back and see this again. And they need to talk to their friends, and they need to tell their friends what a fantastic time they had and how much it changed, even if it's only for a couple of days. It changed their life, and it changed their view of life, and it gave them something special, something above and beyond what they get from normal life. And that's what art of all kinds is for. The Stevie Wonder thing, go back to the beginning. This is why I was playing that particular bit from Sir Duke, because that's really not my thing. That kind of music is not my thing, and it was brought home to me quite sort of comprehensively recently for various reasons, so I won't go into that. I need to do my thing, and I don't feel comfortable doing somebody else's thing. I don't feel comfortable as simply a technician, if you like, in a cover band, just playing what other people think the audience wants to hear, without ever having to ask the audience what they want to hear. We've all been there, we've all been through the situation where we say, oh well, we've got to play the floor fillers, we've got to play the dancey things, they've got to play what the audience wants to hear. Nobody's ever actually asked the audience what they want to hear. And telling ourselves that we know they want to hear whatever it happens to be, whatever the latest thing is, that cover bands all decide. There seems to be a collective consciousness that says this number has to be played. We have to play this number for some baffling reason. I don't know why. This is a floor filler. That's a floor filler. And I don't buy it. My opinion is that anything that's played with heart and soul and passion and enthusiasm, in an attempt to communicate, even if all you're communicating is dance, get up and dance. If that's all you're communicating, great. But anything that's played with heart and passion and soul will get across to an audience. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. The audience comes into a pub or a club, which is what we're talking about, not knowing, possibly not even knowing that there's going to be a band there. So they don't know what you're going to play. Are they going to leave because you don't play Mustang Sally, Mr. Brightside, whatever? Are they going to leave because you haven't played those songs? No. Are they going to get up and dance to songs that they don't know, or to songs that they do know but they haven't heard in a while? Well, why not? If you play it in a way that makes people want to move their feet, they will dance. And that's also authentic, in my opinion. It's giving people something that they need, and it's real, and it's part of you, and it's part of the communication between musician and audience. And it's absolutely vital. And if all you're doing, the only reason you're playing that song is because you think it will make people want to dance, well, it won't unless you play it in a way that makes people want to dance. And I think it's a mistake to assume that this song and that song and that song and that song and that song are the floor fillers and they will make people want to dance and this is what everybody wants to hear. It's a mistake. And I get that some function bands have to do that, because the client says, I want this. But a pub band, a band playing in clubs, smaller venues, those sorts of things, do you have to do that? No, you don't. You can do what you want. And if you do it with enough heart and sincerity and authenticity, people will enjoy it and people will come. And it's a big deal and the musicians who play with that intensity and that authenticity and sincerity are very obvious. Everybody knows who they are. And equally, musicians who are thinking about their career and thinking about what sells and what the product is and how they monetize their audience, they're also very clear. I'm not saying nobody should do that. What I'm saying is there is a better way. That's all I'm saying. I was also told the other day by someone whose opinion matters to me that I need to smile more. When you've got a smile like mine, you probably avoid it. But so this is me smiling, and it was quite strange because it was to do with a photograph, and I was told I needed to smile more, and I didn't even realise I wasn't smiling because inside my head I was smiling, but it just didn't get from inside my head to my face. So apologies for that. I'll try and smile a little bit more. So in conclusion, whatever you're doing, do it full-throated, full-hearted, with everything you've got, and do it because it matters to you. And yes, making a living matters too, but there are lots of ways of making a living. And music is not just about making a living. Do it because it matters to you, and do it because you want to give something to an audience. That seems to me the most important thing of all. So that's it for the moment from No Secret Space. I will see you soon, or at least sooner than I did. Take care. Remember, there is no plan B.